If you're still working past 60, you're probably doing it for security. I know a lot of people I talk to claim that they love doing what they're doing, and that could be true. I truly look up and envy those types of people. But for the rest of us, there's other things that we're passionate about and should be doing with the most formidable years of our lives. What if I told you that working too long is actually a big problem? And we're going to talk about the statistics and the current polls that show some of that data later on in this video. But as for now, I'd like to talk about the other intrinsic costs, like our freedom, our health, maybe even part of our retirement income if we're not planning on time or in the right interest rate environment. You see, most people think that working a little longer means they'll save a little bit more in retirement, maybe have more for later. But after helping hundreds and hundreds of families from coast to coast plan their next steps, I can tell you this: that assumption often backfires. By the end of this video, you'll know the real cost of working too long, why it's rarely talked about, and how to know when it's actually time to retire with confidence. I'm Nick McLeod with NJM Wealth Preservation Strategies. For years now, we've helped people step away from the work life and enter into the distribution phase or retirement in a way that allows them to feel safe, secure, purpose-driven, and free of all of those what ifs. What I've seen time and time again is that the biggest regret people have isn't retiring too early, it's waiting too long. That's why we're sharing today, not to scare you, but to show you what I wish more people knew before they hit 60. There really is a hidden cost to working past 60, and it's not just financial. In fact, the financial element's probably the smallest piece of that pie. It's your time, your health, the opportunity cost that quietly slips away while we're chasing just one more year. I mean, the truth is, and I'll break this down a little bit later, is those extra years add far less to your bottom line than you think, when taking away some of your best and healthiest years to enjoy what you've built, doing the things that you love the most. So you can always earn more money, and if you invest intelligently and take advantage at certain time periods, you'll do just that. But you can't earn back your time. A real-time example of what we're talking about comes to mind almost immediately when this topic comes up, and that's with Bob and Julie. Now, when I met Bob and Julie, they came to one of our educational workshops that we have on a weekly basis. It's a live webinar, unscripted, just like this video. And when we're talking about the challenges of putting together a roadmap that allows people to accomplish their goals, that only comes after a thorough analysis. The first thing we wanted to do was better understand what Bob and Julie were facing. Bob was tired of working. His back was killing him. He wanted to spend more time with his young wife and his 2 daughters without life slipping away from him. But at the same time, he wasn't confident that he had enough dollars put back to provide the investment income he needed to bridge the gap between Social Security and beyond. See, what Bob didn't have was a plan. So it wasn't until we put a plan together and were able to strategize different opportunities for Bob to actually make the dream work. That started with figuring out what his monthly income needs truthfully were going to be. And not just gross, but we needed to figure out what we're going to be left with after paying taxes, right? His investment profile. Is he aggressive? Is he conservative? Is he a balanced investor? What's his portfolio made up of? How much is pre-tax dollars? How much are post-tax dollars? The ability to grow at a justifiable rate, and increasing all of those factors as he ages for cost of living and inflation and things that are out of our control. So it made no sense after running a thorough analysis and understanding that Bob actually had more than enough to retire if he invested in a specific way. So what we're really looking at here is the client under the correct assumption that they can or cannot retire. I think that starts with a conversation with a qualified professional to better understand what your needs are, what they could be in the future with cost of living and inflation, what the investment world and opportunities look like are, and out of the retail space, I might add, because sometimes you have to get creative to find investments that are both safe enough but also carry a high enough rate of return that your principal's not compromised, but you can accomplish your goal. So it wasn't until we went through the growth pains of getting to know one another and the planning process that we came up with a formidable plan. After we put that plan in place, it took about 2 months for Bob to finally retire and then turn on his benefits later on down the road, because again, we had more than enough to cover his expenses and a plan to pivot when Social Security came on to more of a growth plan long term to account for an old age in retirement. We want Bob and Julie to grow old together, and so we got to make sure that we have enough on the back end. So just like Bob and Julie experienced, the financial value of working those extra years past the age of 60 starts dropping off fast, while your health and happiness drop even faster in some instances. This study comes from Social Science and Medicine that found retiring just a year earlier actually reduces your risk of heart disease thanks to lowering your stress or cortisol levels and more time for self-care. You can always make more money later. You can always invest more wisely and make sure that you have a proper portfolio and foundation, but you can't buy back your 60s. Guys, we're living longer than ever. When I first got into this business as a second generation advisor, that was over 2 decades ago. So I was working with your grandparents, and in some cases, your parents even 20 years ago. And I think you would agree with me that the lifestyle and activities of a 50 to 65-year-old aren't that dissimilar from mine. In fact, we do the same things. Most of my friends are in their 60s, and a lot of my clients I call my friends. Therefore, we're living longer, but we're not just living longer, we're living healthier, more robust lives. We're not just sitting in a muumuu in our rocking chair watching reruns. We're out living life, doing things, traveling, experiencing what it is to still have time. And that, my friends, is the irony. Most retirement calculators completely miss that. We're calculating for this or that, tax consequences, Roth conversions, will my money last, what's my income look like, am I too conservative, am I too aggressive? But they treat each and every year as if it adds the same value, and it doesn't. Your health, your energy, your relationships, they all have a timeline, and that is what's most important. Occasionally, I come across conversations that are seemingly happen over and over and over again. You can call it the butterfly effect. And that's the person that believes that everything is fine. I'm in good health. I feel good today. But even I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm nowhere near 60. I don't know when my time is up or what type of health complications I could face in my life. Now, fast forward to the age of 70. You've got R&D on the horizon, but you feel like maybe if something happens to me prematurely, I got to make sure she's taken care of or they're taken care of. Or if I live till I'm 110, I'm taken care of. You know, oftentimes, just like Bob and Julie, having a conversation to lay out any type of plan can lead to the peace of mind and knowing that we have no idea how long we're going to last. We don't know when our health will decline, or the opposite, how long we'll live. So in that big question mark, we should be in the process of making sure we have something on paper that says, if I stop working tomorrow, these are the things that I can expect to have. This is the growth pattern that my dollars could take. And this would lead most people to feeling a little bit more confident in whether or not they wanted to stay the path and continue working and sacrificing their years and miss time with family, or if it's time to kind of pull the plug and finally decide, I'm going to move into the great wide open. So sometimes I think it all comes back to the same thing. And we're starting to see a sequence here, and that is putting a plan together. It's better to have any plan than no plan, and saving any time that we have to prepare for the great unknown. What's next? Take that next step up the mountain. Staring at the top can sometimes be daunting, but taking the next step can be fun. Now I want to share with you something that really opened our eyes. This is not just about a few people feeling tired of work or getting burned out. It's a national problem. It's a pattern. In 2024, a study from Transamerica Center for Retirement Studies found that fewer than 1 in 4 retirees, only 23%, felt confident they could maintain their lifestyle in retirement. It's not just about the confidence piece, because according to Bankrate's 2025 retirement report, 74% of retirees say they have financial regrets, most commonly wishing they'd started preparing earlier or retired sooner. Another 2024 report found that nearly half of retirees say they waited too long to focus on retirement planning. And when they finally stopped working, they realized they traded all that time that they can't get back for very marginal financial gains. Guys, that's not a small regret. That's 4 missed birthdays or 4 summers, 4 extra years with family that they can't ever relive. And what all these studies point to is the same truth. I see it in my own clients each and every day. It's that people rarely regret retiring too early or controlling and maintaining their time. But they often and most always regret waiting too long. So why do people keep working longer than they need to? Well, we've kind of boiled it down to a few key points. I find it usually comes down to three things. Number one, the one more year trap. You tell yourself, I'll feel better after one more year. I'll feel more confident. But 1 year turns into 3, then to 5. Before you know it, sometimes a whole decade or more is gone. The number 2 trap is the safety illusion. You think your paycheck equals safety. What with smart income strategies and income planning, along with tax planning, you can create the same sense of security and be your own boss without that 9 to 5 stress that continues to add up and take a larger decline on our overall health than most of us give credit to, even in your 40s, but especially in your 50s, 60s, and beyond. And the number 3 is the identity gap. I hear this a lot. In fact, some of the people I love the most, including family members and close friends, I feel like fall into this gap. Having nothing outside of what they love doing. The identity gap, meaning the work gives us our purpose, our identity. But in retirement, it doesn't mean you lose that identity. One of my favorite clients, Mark, dentist for 30 years, he worried about losing a sense of self. And when he finally retired, he started mentoring young dentists and discovered his joy through woodworking. And he told me, retirement didn't take my purpose away. It gave it back to me. You see, sometimes you can turn all of those years of experience and success into something that I think is more meaningful, which is mentorship and helping other people accomplish their goals and maybe avoiding some of the same traps you fell into. And that's the way you really love on people. Working longer might add a little bit more money to your bottom line, but retiring earlier often adds a lot more life and better life. Think about it. Just like Bob and Julie, if we add a little bit more money to our 401k over the next, say, 12 months or 24 months, how much extra income is that actually going to provide? Are you under the impression that Bob was putting 100% of his whole paycheck into his retirement plan or into his portfolio? You're sadly mistaken. So that small portion of money that he's taking out per paycheck, that they're adding a small little 4% kicker on, that's not changing his life. They're not taking an extra trip a year. Shoot, they might be buying Christmas with that money, maybe one time, but it's not changing his life. What changed his life was getting his time back, being able to wake up and enjoy his day. So you can always go back to work part-time if you need to, but you can't rewind the clock to take that trip, hike that mountain, play that round of golf, or chase your grandkids around the backyard. I like to tell my clients your portfolio can recover from a market dip. Your health sometimes, but most of the time, can't recover from lost years. The goal isn't to retire early or late. The goal is to retire at your optimal moment when your health, finances, and emotional readiness kind of align. And that's a real critical phase of life. That distribution phase of life is a blessing. It's beautiful, but it's all how we prepare for it. When we put together a balanced retirement equation, the health window, financial sufficiency, emotional readiness, in my opinion, that leads to optimal timing. But it all starts and it all begins with a solid plan. Traditional planning focuses only on the numbers. True success is about optimizing your life, not just your account values. Here's what we recommend if you're approaching that optimal time to retire, for you, of course. Number one, it's a hard question for most people, but it's a necessary question. What does your health timeline look like? Genetically, what about your parents and grandparents? How long did they live? What are your habits? Are they good or bad or indifferent? How healthy are you today? What I'm getting at is, realistically, if you had to guess, how many years do you have left, assuming no big accidents happen? Number two, define what enough is. What do you think enough is for you? When I say enough, most people put a dollar amount on that. But you know what I find? I find that using the wrong instrument for things like income can drastically change what the word enough looks like. I mean, after all, if you're only using a 2% rate of return for an income, wouldn't your life dramatically change and get easier and certain obstacles would not be obstacles if you had 14% coming in for an income. Make sure you understand what the risk is per investment. Is my principal protected, and how much am I getting in return? If you could fix that challenge, most people, that optimizes everything else, but most people feel a lot more comfortable with what's enough. Now, number 3 would be design a tax-efficient roadmap, a tax-efficient drawdown plan. That could come by way of a Roth conversion plan, or just a tax efficiency roadmap is what we call it here at NJM. Creating an income you can rely on is one thing, but we need to keep as much out of Uncle Sam's pockets as possible. Number 4 is plan your life portfolio. Don't just retire from something, retire to something. Make sure we've got purpose. And a calendar with purpose means you don't just have free time, you have your time. If you're in your 60s and you're asking yourself, should I keep working? The answer isn't just about money. It's about balance. It's about timing. It's about confidence in knowing you've made all the right choices for your life. At NJM Wealth Preservation, we help clients create tax-efficient, purpose-driven retirement plans each and every day. Plans designed to protect your health, your wealth, and your legacy. The true retirement isn't just about having enough. It's about feeling secure enough to finally live the way that you've always imagined. So if you're ready for clarity and your next step, here's what you can do right now. Schedule your free retirement analysis. Use the link below in the description and the pinned comments. On that Zoom, we'll walk through your current plan, your goals, your wish lists, the things that are maybe going right for you and the things that maybe aren't, and exactly what it would take to retire with confidence on your terms. However you choose to start, just remember this: you can always earn more money, but you can't earn back your time. Thanks for watching. My name is Nick McLeod, and I look forward to speaking with you, and the team is excited to put a plan together with your name on it.